Good afternoon, this is Anu Vaidyanathan. I'm going to quickly introduce my class title, Technology and IP in the 21st Century. That's going to be offered this December as an elective. I typically adhere to the title of a book called Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy when I'm talking about intellectual property in the 21st century, because I think that it is important to understand the historic evolution up to this point and not just consider the last 50 years or so, which is really an outcome of the fact that in India, more than 70% of IP filings are done by multinationals. Therefore, I think that our understanding of the evolution of IP doesn't really have a context here. But in setting the lay of the land in terms of this book title, what I'm trying to do really is to give you a context into who the actors are in this massive scheme of things as far as intellectual property is concerned and technology in specific. So the tinkerers basically are the innovators, the people that are building new things, be it machines or applications or just pushing the frontiers of science forward. The tailors are people that are creating policy, including the George Washingtons of the world or the Queen of England, who came up with the first known patent regime in the world. The soldiers are people that are enforcing these policies, be it the patent offices around the world or the appellate court in India that is used to fast track decisions around intellectual property. And the spies are those that sit right at the edge of what is legal and not so legal. For example, Pirate Bay, or our favorite example in campuses, DC++. And these actors really go so far as to question policy or the goodness or not so good aspects of policy as they stand in terms of privacy or data protection. So let's take a very simple example of doing a quick transaction online for some banking purpose. Say I log on to my bank using my smartphone, and I initiate a transaction and then I log off. So in this very simple example, the number of people that are now involved in the technology that goes forward to actually make this happen are me, the private citizen who is using my smartphone, the manufacturer of the smartphone, the guy who's written the application for the smartphone, the network services provider who is handling all the bells and whistles and wires, and obviously the jurisdiction under which all of us coexist, and where a lawful implementation of a citizen's rights have to be sort of kept in mind so that nobody's rights or data or privacy is violated going forward. So when we think about intellectual property in the 21st century, clearly, given that technology is an imperative part of our lives, most of the conversation in this class will be centered around that. There are about 2 sessions on the history of IP to set up a context as to what we're talking about, the various forms of IP, including copyrights, trademarks, designs, and patents. Copyrights are a very interesting subject because they have obviously created a lot of debate around things like digital music, for example with Napster in a historic sense, and now today with modern day distribution of digital music. There will be 3 sessions that talk to you very quickly about current situations in the market, including antitrust, which is a real concern to big companies today. There will be a couple of sessions that discuss how to create value using intellectual property. If you're just a pure technology enthusiast and you're wondering why should I bother with intellectual property at all, there will be a couple of sessions that tell you what valuation of IP means, how companies are converting these into assets using various taxation regimes. And I will also touch upon the topic of open source software. I think a lot has been said about open source software without understanding or setting a context for it, where we really need to understand that open is not necessarily free. And given a country where there is an abundance of developers, I think that understanding this is kind of important going forward. And there will be a couple of sessions towards the end that talk about the technology space, specifically to do with high technology, mobile applications, and also your devices, your smartphones, which are obviously one of the biggest markets today in terms of just pure revenue. And as far as expectations in this class go, it's very simple. There'll be a project for which you'll write a report, which is the bulk of your grade. There is 30% assigned for class participation, so it would be really great if you were prepared, even if it is an elective. And there's 10% for in-class presentations, which will be done as groups, not individually. And just in parting, it's not an easy A, but I'm hoping that we will have some really lively discussions and really understand whether we are signing off our tax data to someone in cyberspace without understanding it, and what the benefits and pitfalls of intellectual property and technology are in the 21st century. So thank you for your time.